Hi guys, are the riots running out of steam, and if so, why? So Matthew Wright asked this question here of his audience and then suggested that it could be due to the massive counter-protests that we've seen, where ordinary people, the true silent majority, following a reaction of horror to what they saw on their TV screens, decided it didn't represent them and England and they would provide an alternative. While some of the counter-demonstrations have been organised by trade unions, charities and left-wing organisations, the vast majority of those attending are ordinary people who say no to racism and fascism. But is there another reason why the rioting is much more muted?
Please correct me if you think I'm wrong. I assume that we still have roughly the same number of angry people out there that we did 2 weeks ago this Tuesday. People so angry they burnt a hotel with people in it. Endless scenes of looting, libraries burned, citizens of Vice Bureau razed to the ground by self-styled patriots. Why was no one at it again yesterday? The people of Brighton, the people of Walthamstow in particular, stood out. Bloody thousands of you. Dignified and peaceful you were too, but in terms of sheer numbers, I think we'd have to accept that from a far-right would-be rioter's perspective, you must have looked terrifying. Did rioters and the fascists finally wake up maybe and smell the coffee, that while their complaints have been amplified on social media, the reality is that they are massively, massively outnumbered by decent people?
Yes, to a certain extent. That's part of the reason. But I think the other reason why we're seeing a much more muted response from the rioters is that those organising the riots, those egging them on, are now feeling the heat as well. So, because it's easy for somebody to sit in a studio, for example, and tell, rioters, you should go out and do this, that and the other. It's easy for elected members of parliament to say something on social media and expect no backlash. Now that there has been a backlash, now that there's a risk to their careers, a risk that they could be put in prison, and we've already seen one individual who was sharing misinformation online arrested, and she had been doing it on a number of occasions before, so it wasn't something new. But those individuals now feel the heat, and they're taking a step back. So in order to organize these protests, you need it to be organized both on the ground, but also online. And those online are now getting very worried about posting stuff on social media because there's a risk that they could end up in prison too. Because before, it was easy. You write something on social media, whip up some anger, and then the local idiots will go out and riot over it. But now you could end up in prison too. So these people are not posting like they were before. It may change in the future, but at the moment, they're deeply concerned, really worried that they could end up in jail. So they're not posting like before. And if they're not posting, then they're not whipping up this anger. And then people on the local level, people who would normally be out rioting, well, they're not able to get the numbers either. Because as Matthew has pointed out, there's a huge counter demonstration, but also they're not able to organize because they need social media to organize. So social media has been really the cornerstone here. It's been the catalyst to organize these protests or riots. And if you've taken that power away from them, they still have social media. They're still able to access it, but they're afraid to start posting racist and incendiary comments online. And if that's been taken away from them, then of course it's going to be difficult for them to organize. So this has been a masterstroke by the government. Putting people who have been posting stuff in prison, but also those who have been carrying out the physical violence as well. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.